that was something greater calling me, and I needed to commit to that for my personal well-being first, and then everything unfolded from there. The starting point was my personal wellness and wanting to deeply honor this inner calling to go within and really connect to that part of me.
Casilda is a shamanic healer, impact entrepreneur, and former Tier 1 global marketing executive. She serves as a bridge between spirituality and corporate to help elevate the consciousness of corporate to be a force for social good. She is a pioneer, paving the way to lead industry and category transformation, first through deep inner transformation that can help bridge insights and intuition for innovative business advantage. Casilda discovered that she comes from a lineage of shamanic healers and now uses these gifts as a trusted heart-centered transformation mentor for leaders and visionaries through Sol Medicine Immersions. She is also excited to be working on her own impact-focused, eco-conscious lifestyle brand and is the author of 2 upcoming books. In this episode, we talk about workaholism and burnout, creating space and opening up to plant medicine, and connecting the conscious with the subconscious.
You're listening to Going Conscious, the podcast where we discover new ways to live a more conscious life of fulfillment and freedom. Each week, I speak with entrepreneurs, academics, and changemakers who have made big transformations, left unfulfilling lives behind, and found meaning in this new world where purpose drives success. Let's get inspired to live our unique journeys to the fullest. Let's explore the impact we want to make and deepen our understanding of ourselves, each other, and this beautiful world around us. Live your freedom. I'm your host, Nikki Trott.
In this episode, we talk about why being overproductive depletes our soul, how to trust and surrender, how to strip away external validation, realizing the need to love yourself enough to let go, pioneering the new earth consciousness, the birth of something radical, embodying interconnectedness, and unlocking what we have to contribute to the planet. Now let's go to our conversation. Hi, Casilda. Welcome to Going Conscious.
Thank you, Nikki. Great to be here.
I'm excited to have you here and to find out more about your amazing journey. You have gone from being a marketing executive globally to a shamanic healer, and now you're bringing these worlds together. But I would love to find out first a bit about that journey. How did you leave the marketing world and you'd risen to such heights in your career and then take that step and become a shamanic healer?
Well, I would love to say that it was all obvious to me from the on stage. It wasn't. It was really my own sense of uneasiness in my day-to-day life. And, for 5 years while in corporate, trying to straddle corporate and, committing to deep inner transformation and feeling like that was something greater calling me, and I needed to commit to that for my personal well-being first, and then everything unfolded from there. So the starting point was my personal wellness and wanting to deeply honor the voice. I wouldn't have called the voice of my soul at that time, but to deeply honor this inner calling to go within and really connect to that part of me.
Beautiful. Wow. So when you were working in your corporate job and you were feeling uneasy in your day-to-day life, how was that showing up for you?
It showed up in many ways, and the main one that was persistent was chronic depression, which also led to burnout and overall a sense of lacking fulfillment. And that led me, looking at my life and saying, I have the career, I have a great partner, I'm making enough money and the trajectory looks pretty good. If all of this doesn't give me a deeper sense of wellness within and feeling an inner feeling of success and fulfilled, what is it? And the depression was the most persistent one. And I was then using workaholism as a cover-up for it, which then led to burnout and a host of other health concerns. So it was definitely getting to a point where do something now to take care of your personal health.
And how did you know what to do in that moment? Because I completely understand. I've been there as well with with all of those things, with the great job and the great salary and the great partner and what outwardly looked like success, but I didn't feel right. I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel that I'd reached the potential that I was meant to reach. And so I also made a big change then. But I'm wondering for you, what was it that led you to know what you needed to do?
The only thing I needed to do at that point, because it got pretty intense for me, where I was even having suicidal ideation. And that's a little scary for some people to hear. And it was at a point where I was already working on myself for 5 years while in corporate and working with psychologists, alternative modern healing methods, ancient healing methods, some of them, and really having tried a host of different modalities to support myself. And it felt like none of this is working. So I'm just going to quit my career and give myself the space. And I really thought it was only going to be 6 months to a year, that leave all of this behind, just like, a sabbatical, to try to just give myself the space. Because I've been working for a long time. And even though I've had little minor career breaks at times, it wasn't with the intention to now step away to really focus inward for myself. So the intention shifted. And that in that space, the first 8-9 months, it was really just about building really new lifestyle habits. I didn't know what else to do. So I just went to the gym regularly and meditated and just really focused on eating really well, going to retreats, going to meditation retreats, going to yoga retreats. And it's just cultivating the space, the opening. And in that opening is when I was led to plant medicine. And I would now look at that as my body being primed, because it can be quite intense to go into plant medicine just like that without any preparation. So to me, it beautifully primed my very way of being to relax into it, to help the nervous system calm down, to really witness that life as I knew it, it wasn't okay just to go back to the same old, that some radical changes needed to take place in order to really step into the grace. That was my life that was unfolding, and to be even really grateful for it versus looking at my life and thinking, what's wrong? To really start to feel like I want to be here. At no point am I going to give up on life. And getting rid of that suicidal ideation and just really affirming from within, I'm here. So if I want to be here, I want to thrive. And what does thriving feel like? What does thriving look like? And what are the actions that need to come with it? And again, that very, corporate side of me still is there, is what's the game plan? And it's great to have a 9-10 month vacation of going to the gym and meditating and eating well. But that then really was the necessary grounding and opening that was required, if that makes sense.
Yes, I love how you talk about how you really just started by giving yourself that space, and then you understood later that actually you were priming yourself for plant medicine by really working on your calming down your mind and getting your body in a strong place.
Yeah, because a lot of times in Western culture, it's not just Western anymore. I think globally this is become a norm where we don't always create the space to just be. We're just this overachieving, highly productive, go, results, action. And that's beautiful. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But with that not in balance, it depletes our soul, is what I've now discovered. And we got to find ways to keep nourishing the soul along the way and bring the whole of our being into oneness to really have success, to this true feeling of success and fulfillment. And to me, I didn't even know where to begin, because in my soul, I kind of already knew that because I had been trying to work on myself for 5 years, and could be similar to many of the audience, the people that are listening to this. It's like, we're not new to this. On some level, we know all of this. How do we actually shift into the being? And that's where, the 5-year part-time doing this with my full-time career then became my full-time devotion of, I'm like, I'm at a point where it was, to me, if I was to even reframe it right now, it would be, I just surrendered, because I'm like, I've tried a whole bunch of stuff and I don't know what to do next. So how about I do nothing and just take some time out and just learn to be and see what happens.
Amazing. I absolutely love how you use the word surrender there as well. And last year I read The Surrender Experiment by Singer, and that was a really inspiring book for me as well. And to just really get in touch with surrendering and accepting then every stage. And it's such a brave thing to do, because I suppose that a lot of your identity had been wrapped up in that corporate career. What was that like? How did you need to adjust your identity for yourself?
That was the biggest part, because what many of us sometimes don't recognize is, how do we introduce ourselves to people? It's often through what we do. And the way we show up in the world is tied to that, our education, our careers, our family dynamics. This is tend to be how we introduce ourselves. So for about a decade, I was a corporate marketing person. And the brands I worked on, the companies I represented, and how I served was so much part of my identity. So what happened in the first 3 months is I fell into a deeper depression. And it got a little scary for my partner, because it's like, I thought this was going to be the answer, but I was in the worst shape of my life the first 3 months leaving corporate. Because all of the things that were my coping mechanisms, that were the band-aids to what was really going on, that was kind of holding it together, was no longer there anymore. So the unraveling, what I now call that phase, was the unraveling of all those forms of external identity that we cling on to as a form of validation, as a form of looking at ourselves and having that sense of worthiness. And when we strip all that away, we might start to feel a little depressed, if that's something that you're coping with or dealing with, or not. But still, this uneasiness deepens. And for me at that time is when I thought, I'm going to commit deeper into first just calming down. I knew enough to know that I need to calm down the nervous system and support the nervous system. What does that look like? And so one by one, it's when I was deeply letting go, and also the judgment that you get from colleagues and friends and family of like, what happened to her, and the projections that people give you, that it's kind of scary what you're doing, the walking away from everything, and just completely letting go into the abyss of the unknown and not knowing what's next, and the gossip and the rumor mills, and understanding that if you truly want to do this work, it's not just your own identity, it's everything that'll also get projected onto you, and what are you then available for, and just loving yourself. And that's what I realized. This unraveling process was, I'm going to love myself enough to go through this pain of unraveling and letting go of all external forms of validation, whether it's mine or something that's projected, to really come into this deep oneness and not even knowing what that is at that point. So it's really the abyss of your own soul.
Incredible. I love how you talk about that unraveling, and it's about loving yourself enough to be able to go through that pain and to let go of all of those external expectations and your own projections.
Right.
And it's so true. It resonates with me so much when I went through my transition as well. One of the things that I worried about was that people, and hundreds or thousands of people that I had in my network, and I'm sure you had thousands and thousands as well, that they would think I'd gone crazy.
Yes.
And judge me. And I'd never been someone who really worried too much about what others thought. I'd always been relatively headstrong, but that's how I felt. And I was so surprised that I had those feelings. And it took me a bit of time to understand that actually the people who have real problems with what we do, what we change, are the people who feel challenged
Yes.
by our change and actually need probably that example but aren't ready for it themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And compassion in that process, and empathy for yourself and them, which at that time, I didn't have the language to say that even, because there was a deep sense of self-compassion that I needed to have first. So asking me, that Casilda 8 years ago to say now have compassion for those people that are judging you would have been like a lot to ask. But now when I look back, it's only compassion because they don't know. And, loving myself enough in this process to say it is a brave new world. We're birthing something. And we might be the pioneers. Those of you listening to this as well, you might be among the pioneers that are birthing something radically beautiful for this new earth consciousness, to be those that go before the mass society adopts it, and to leap with that faith that when you truly surrender to this, there's a divine plan that has always been there, that's always unfolding to catch you, to guide you, to inspire you, and that is beyond our wildest imagination. And all it's asking of us, the only thing it's asking of us is, can you trust? Can you trust that you're never going to make a mistake and that you will always be supported, and that deep faith that we have to go into? And it's not a faith in some externalized God. All of your faith in that divine consciousness within you, that as you hone your ability to listen and to go into that space within yourself, that each step will be revealed, and you may not know the plan up front. And this is very opposite to those of us who come from a corporate background and from a certain, maybe even education background, or a certain way of being, depending on where we are on the planet. It may be comfortable for some, but not very comfortable for many of us who've been raised in a Western way of being. And even if you're not in the West, what we call the West, even that I have a whole new theory on now. But just to understand that, and can we trust in this deep unknown? And that's not always easy. And that's the resistance that you first have to feel into and get comfortable with. And that resistance never fully goes away. It kind of pops in once in a while. And to me, that was the game changer to being okay with all of that.
Amazing. It resonates so deeply with me as well. And I completely had the same experience where for the first time after I left the corporate world, I had to surrender to not having a plan and follow where my intuition guided me, and know and trust and believe that it will take me where I need to go. And of course, now where it's taken me so far has been, like you said, beyond my imagination. I could not have come up with that back then when I was just coming out of corporate where I am now. And I completely agree with you.
If you enjoy Going Conscious, please subscribe for a new episode every Wednesday. If you think your friends and networks would benefit from listening, please share this podcast of fulfillment and freedom with them. And if you listen on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review. It's great to read what you think, and your support makes a big difference. Together, let's grow our courage and tools to transform and live the lives we really want to. As well as creating Going Conscious, I work as a transformation coach and conscious brand consultant. I'm on a mission to help holistically maximize conscious entrepreneurs to drive positive changes for themselves, others, and the planet. I can help you to transition and level up personally, and I can help your brand grow and make a bigger impact. To connect with me and find out more about how we can work together, find me on Instagram @NikkiTrott or on my website, nikkitrott.com. Please get in touch. I'd love to hear from you, and let's talk about your path of growth and development.
And is there anything you think helped you to channel that trust as you went through your process?
A lot of different things, but I guess it'll go down to the way I was raised. And I have to thank my mom and give all credit to my mom for that. And she really gave me this belief when I was young, very young, that you can do anything. And so in those moments of doubt, and my mom's now passed away for 18 years, in those moments of doubt, I heard that voice of my mother of you can do anything if you learn to trust that there is a divine guidance. My mom was quite religious, but what I took out of it was not religion, it was my spirituality. Because I was exposed to multiple religions as a child, and unbeknownst to me at that time, my great grandfather from my father's side was a shamanic healer, which had just been lost for 2 generations. I think somehow deep down, this ancestral wisdom and my mom's deep faith in the way I was raised was really fundamental to that, even though I wouldn't have called myself religious by any means. I never went to church for about a decade and kind of almost became, I would say, a soft atheist for a little bit, where I just didn't believe in anything. But it was that deep in those moments, just tuning to some ancestral wisdom that was coming through, I guess, different meditation practices that I was cultivating. And knowing at that point, remember, I'd already been on this path for about 5 years, and knowing that, I haven't experienced this divine wisdom yet as a direct experience, but intellectually I knew it was there. And the intellectual knowing was enough at that point to tune into that trust and saying, if so many mystics and amazing teachers are talking about this and have written about this, it's there. So many amazing sages and deep wisdom keepers and shamans could not be wrong. So it was really a call to, an invitation from my soul to deeply go into self-inquiry and the desire to want to experience that for myself. And this is where I say desire is not a bad thing. A desire into deep self-inquiry for deep transformation, to expand within yourself with consciousness. These are beautiful desires to have. And this is where that word has been often misunderstood as it's been translated into English, that it's a bad thing. And no, it isn't. And it's that desire that allowed me to trust, if that resonates.
Absolutely. That's incredible. Thank you so much. And such a beautiful story about your mother's presence throughout that as well. I also feel my mum's presence through so much of what I do. She passed away 11 years ago, and I also feel her guiding me. It's really beautiful to hear how your mum is there guiding you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell us a bit about how you bridge corporate with spirituality to drive positive impact now in the work that you're doing? How you bring those two completely separate worlds together?
Yes. I'd like to first start on the shamanic healing journey, what it really helped me see. And because it's ultimately plant medicine is a psychologist. It helps connect to your unconscious and your subconscious. And you get to see wherever you have thought or had feelings of separation, it helps bridge that. And then you get to transform those parts of you that still feels in opposition. It collapses the polarity from within. So when I started to see over an 8-year process of working with plants and this medicine that it gives us, that there was really no separation. We're all in this together. There's this grand oneness, this quantum field of unified consciousness that we all come from. And this one supreme consciousness is the source of everything. And whether it's a plant, a rock, or stone, or water, your breath, all human beings, we're interconnected. So when I started to really embody this interconnectedness, I started to directly see how corporations are a direct linked to some of these forms of devastation on the planet. And again, I don't want to make corporate the bad guy, because at the end of the day, it's a community that's aggregated together with an intention to create a product or a service. So if you come back to the humanness of corporate, and that we're all humans, we're a humanity, we're an aggregate of like-minded beings on a mission. And usually they always had a benevolent nature to all of those. Even some of the things that we think of deeply polluting the planet, like the oil industry. Well, we'll look at all of gas and oil, all the benefits and the luxury it gave us over time. And still we're hugely dependent on that for our lifestyle that we take for granted, most of us. So not to come from you're the bad guy and we're going to come and, slap your hand, but to really come at it with compassion and to realize that if I could help these executives, because that's all it is humans in these jobs, just like me and you are, and many of the listeners, we're such deeply loving humans. Every one of us, I think, I have witnessed and experienced is love at the underneath it all. So if we can really help people connect and to witness for themselves the interconnectedness and karmically that what we do has a ripple effect. There's a rebound effect to us. And it affects us whether you don't believe in reincarnation or not. It affects us generationally. It becomes then something that your future generations have to transform. So my whole thing is, I believe that all timelines are happening now. It's lateral thinking. So why not that having full access to the now, be a change agent, be a transformation agent, and do this inner work, and then look at then how we formulate what we're doing in the corporate space, then to be ambassadors, stewards of the planet. And that may require new procurement practices, new formulations, new raw materials, all of those. And then, first of all, even just to bring your teams online and to start to bridge that and realign new values and understand if we want to become transformation agents on this planet, what does our new value system need to look like? And how do we lovingly hold ourselves accountable? Because that accountability word is an interesting word because I can feel like punishment. But the way I look at accountability is love. Is like it's great to lovingly hold every one of ourselves accountable for what we bring and how we show up on the planet. And then when we come from that place of love, what are the loving actions that we take? Then that can then lead to innovative advantage, because you might just find, and for me, my own personal way of functioning, it's led to so much innovative thinking. And you could be a category leader and a pioneer from that perspective. And that's one of the ways. And that's just, a multi-step process of unraveling, but that's just a synopsis of how I'm inviting people and how I guess Spirit is guiding me to help serve in this capacity.
And what does that look like practically with the work that you're doing?
Well, if someone's really curious, it could start with one-on-one mentoring with me if they allow me to guide them. And if not, it could just be going into self-inquiry themselves, doing their own research into understanding the interconnectedness, because maybe there's some blind spots. And first of all, I think it has to start with you. The deep realization that everything that we do, everything we source, everything we create, it's still part of the oneness. There's no separation. So as opposed to this is just what I do and I make money and I have to pay my bills, it affords me this lifestyle. So we tend to block out and bypass some of the things that we are part of contributing on this planet because we have justified it. So to me, the first part is if you're feeling uneasy, maybe depression is showing up, burnout is showing up, it's usually a sign that you're not in full alignment with the soul essence of who you are. But you've made, and I don't blame anyone for this, it's just the way society has evolved. We've created stories of justification as to why we do these things. Well, how else am I going to make my money? I have to pay mortgage. I have to put my kids through school. I have to pay for all these expenses to afford this lifestyle. And that is sort of the catch-22. Well, then what do? Right? So it's this first inner realization of, well, doing what I'm doing right now, I may not be feeling well, or there's just this deep sense of uneasiness. And could that lead to illness in the future? Could that lead to planetary devastation and climate change? And then what does that mean for your family, for the ones you love? Whether it's you're not there or, your livelihood is significantly changed, your lifestyle's impacted by illness, or could it be our planet is in crisis? Or could it be that they're not getting the full expression, the full version of you because you're that mom or dad that's numbing through a glass of wine every night and just not fully present for your family?
Yeah.
Or if you're a single, not fully thriving, that you're Netflixing and chilling versus just really stepping into your life in all your glory. So it really has a personal impact, and it's your own soul, your own human expression that comes first. And if you're brave enough to look at that, and I do say brave because it's easy to be complacent and be a little numb and live out our life, even through the pain of it. Because there's so many really beautiful coping mechanisms.
Yes.
And there's so many ways to and spiritual bypass all of this too. And so for me, it's, are you brave enough to look at that and brave enough to imagine a new way of being for yourself and the planet? And I think that's what is calling right now from the soul of humanity, from deep within, whether you're awake, conscious or unconscious. To me, it's that inner work first. And what that then translates to is, what steps do you take? I would highly encourage detoxification of the body, because sometimes these pathogens and viruses within your system keep you addicted to unhealthy behaviors that you've normalized. And then it could be mindset training of, what books do you need to read, what webinars or what podcasts do you listen to? How do you cultivate a mindset for transformation? And then it could be then what physical changes are really getting in and feeling the body changes to really align body, mind, spirit. Like, how do you sweat it out? And all of these is a form of meditation, because we've been told that meditation is just sitting down and observing the breath. And that's important. I think I encourage everyone to spend at least 20 minutes a day, twice a day, 20 minutes if you can, morning and evening, to cultivate a meditation practice to allow for the witnessing of what rises. But then it's also then you don't stop meditating, because that's where people sort of get caught. Meditation is a way of being. So you bring heartful presence. Notice I didn't use the word mindful, because I believe that's the wrong word. It's heartful presence. And you get the mind to surrender into the now moment, and each now moment that allows you to truly be a witness, the observer. And in each moment, then you get guided. So that allows you to, like, I have a ritual in the morning. I drink my half a liter of warm lemon water, and then I'll do half a liter of pure celery juice, and then get ready for my day. And that's just to detoxify my system. And that starts to then clean up my inner body, that really helps to have a deeper sense of presence.
Amazing. I love how you bring together the inner journey and the planet crisis, and also the courage and bravery that it takes to go through this process. And I completely agree with you. It's so key to have that. It's not easy, but I love how you describe how linked everything is there. And so as we come towards the end of our discussion, I want to ask you, what does personal success look like to you, and how has this changed?
Oh, it's radically shifted for me. To me, personal success is, do I have joy in my life? Do I feel fulfilled? And am I doing something that I am excited about, that I also feel like is positively impacting the planet, while allowing me to be prosper and be abundant for whatever that looks like in that moment? And even that's changed in terms of what that needs to look like.
Yeah, I love that. It's kind of always evolving somehow.
Yeah, and to be in loving harmony, to attract into my life the most loving partner who is aligned to this. And even that, like, transformed, right? It's like the way we come into union changes. And I don't even call it a partnership anymore. It's like, to me, it's sacred unions. And everything, whether it's business or personal, romantic, friendships, all of these are unions of how we come together. And to me, the loving nature of that is everything.
Beautiful.
And that harmony within that, it actually just unlocks us. It unlocks and unleashes limitless possibilities of how we co-create, how we collaborate, how we become the guardians of the new frontier.
Amazing. It's so inspiring. And as we're closing, can you let us know if there's a book you've read recently and loved, and where the best place is for us to find you online?
I've read lots of books recently. The one that I'm presently reading is called Impact by Sir Ronald Cohen. It's about transforming capitalism to be more heart-centered. So I'm really loving that. So please check it out. But I also want to recommend another one for someone who's maybe early on in their journey. The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Fantastic book if you're just starting your journey, or if you're further in your journey and you now like, how do I make an impact? Definitely check out Ronald Cohen's book called Impact. And to find me, my new website is about to launch. It's casildasoul.com. And in the meantime, reach out to me through Instagram, Casilda Soul as well. And yeah, the new website will be up and running in the next couple of days. So you should be able to reach me over there.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm excited to see your new website as well. And thank you for joining us today. It's been so wonderful to speak with you.
Thank you so much, Nikki, for creating this space and having this platform so we can really aggregate more souls that are dedicated to transformation and being this light on earth. So grateful for you, Nikki.
I hope you enjoyed this episode with the incredible Casilda. I love how Casilda talks about the link between our inner journey and the planet crisis. So often we can see our internal challenges and completely separate them from what's going on in the external world around us. But our actions, which affect our external environments, are a reflection of our internal environments. Once we're able to connect more deeply within ourselves and observe what truly matters to us, we're able to connect with oneness and care for our planet from a completely new perspective of understanding and love. Casilda talks about the courage and bravery that it takes to make a huge change. These words come up again and again in our Going Conscious episodes, courage and bravery, when we speak to various visionaries who have made big changes from traditional paths to creating positive impact. So what is it that gives some people the level of courage needed to make a big change and follow their true calling in life? I believe that this always comes down to inner work, to building trust within yourself and believing in your intuition. Believing in your intuition to the point where not following your guidance is no longer possible. This also links to the beautiful point that Casilda made about the importance of loving yourself enough to go through the pain of unraveling, letting go of your preconceptions, of expectations others and you have put on yourself. So really, when we're talking about going conscious, does it start with self-love? I think it very well might do.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe now. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star rating and short review. If you think people you know might benefit from listening to Going Conscious, please share it with them. I know I get much of my inspiration from podcasts which are shared with me. For all episodes, our library and more, visit goingconscious.com. Your support to spread this positive message of fulfillment and freedom means so much. As well as hosting Going Conscious, I help conscious entrepreneurs to transition and unleash their power and purpose with my transformation coaching and conscious brand consulting work. Discover more on Instagram @NikkiTrott or on my website, nikkitrott.com. I'd love to hear from you and to talk about your goals, questions, or how we can work together. And if I don't hear from you before then, see you next Wednesday on the next episode of Going Conscious. As always, live your freedom.